to me your secrets, show me your nightmares. All cats are gray in the dark, dear, whether or not you dare.
Welcome to All Cats Are Gray in the Dark. I'm your host, April Simmons. This podcast contains true cases of graphic violent crimes and other stories of a dark nature. Please be advised that due to the subject matter and violent, sometimes sexual content and obscene language, this podcast is not for children or the faint of heart.
All right, we're back again, episode 3. What are we doing today?
We are doing the Leigh Occhi case. For those not familiar with the Leigh Occhi case, it was a girl who went missing in our area around Tupelo, Mississippi.
Back in 1992, but it's the one everybody talks about. It is our hometown murder. For the murderinos out there, that's our hometown.
Alleged murder.
Well, yeah, they've never found the body, but it's the case that everybody still talks about to this day, and everybody has theories, and everybody thinks they know where the body is and everything, but we're going to present to you the basics, and then we're just going to jump in and tell you what we think. Well,
let's start with that. Where do you think the body is? If she is in fact dead, again, it is allegedly, the body has never been found. She's still considered an open missing persons case, but those of us who are local are pretty sure that Leigh Occhi is no longer among the living. Where do you think, if she is dead, where is she?
I have to say, there's a whole list that everybody always states. Everybody has their own theory about where the body is, because I think our mall was under construction during this time. The new high school in Tupelo was under construction during this time. There was an apartment complex nearby that was under construction.
That's where I say she is. She's in the concrete in the bottom of the apartments that were being built literally a tenth of a mile away from the house.
There's also one of the, I forget what the name of that is, but there was also a ditch that they had just poured concrete on her road.
A culvert.
Yeah.
Just put in a culvert.
I don't really know that it's any of those places. It's possible, but I subscribe to the idea that wherever it is, it still hasn't been found. So whoever hit it really well. I don't really know. I don't have a specific theory on that. I just think wherever it is, it obviously hasn't been found yet, and they've done searches in most of those areas. I mean, obviously they're not going to go rip up the mall floor, but
yeah, or tear up an apartment.
I would like to think they've at least done some kind of ground sonogram type thing, or whatever you call that.
They had, and some of the places like the apartment building or the mall that people have talked about most, if they've done ground sonograms.
Mm. And like a lot of the local legend, people love to state that she's buried right under the food court in the mall, and I'm just like, okay, that's just...
It's morbid.
It's morbid, and it's just a bit much for me. Like, I'm just like, no, that's actually just too...
I mean, the whole case is pretty morbid.
Oh yeah, the whole case is pretty morbid. But,
okay, let's go back to the beginning. Who is Leigh Occhi?
Alright, she was 13 years old, Caucasian female, blonde hair, hazel eyes, and she has a strawberry birthmark at the base of her skull. And it was 105 Honey Locust Drive, Tupelo. And I actually drove by recently for the first time ever.
Really?
Because we were going to some yard sales, and there was a yard sale on that road, and I was like, holy crap, there's the house. But I know I didn't pull in the driveway or do any of that weird stuff, because I know so many people do that to them, and they have to be sick of it. The disappearance happened on August 27th, 1992, so we're coming up on that anniversary again. She was born on August 21st, 79, so this was only 6 days after her birthday.
I actually did not know that.
She had just turned 13, 6 days earlier. She was actually born in Hawaii, Honolulu.
Did not know that either.
Her dad was in the military. They were I think they were on base there, yeah. Her parents were Donald Occhi and Vicky Yarborough at the time of the disappearance. She went to Tupelo Middle School. She went to Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, which I've actually been to. That was, somebody I dated went to that church. She was last known to be wearing a nightshirt and green and yellow silk boxer shorts. She was 4'10" and weighed 95 pounds. So she was a tiny little thing. Then again, I was back then too. Because I would think that would make her 2 years younger than me. Yeah. So she was 2 years younger than me. So, I mean, it was close to the same age, and I remember everybody talking about it back then. She also had small scratch scars on her right leg, bumps on the skin of both knees, ears pierced, lazy left eye, and wore eyeglasses, and she was interested in horses. Alright, I have a little timeline written out. I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. On August 27th, 1992, 6:45 a.m., Vicky wakes up. Leigh is sleeping in her bed. I think it's because it was storming, because there was a hurricane at that time.
There was, yeah.
That was going on. And if you don't
remember which one? Is it
Hurricane Andrew. I have it written in the notes.
Big ones. It was very powerful.
So there was a hurricane going on, and if you don't know your geography with Mississippi, we actually live in North Mississippi, but the hurricane weather on the coast of Mississippi does affect our weather significantly. Like, we have some pretty severe weather when a hurricane is going on in that area. Basically, she wakes up at 6:45 a.m., Leigh's sleeping in her bed. She gets out of bed and takes a shower, and at 7 a.m., she gets out of the shower, and Leigh was up and awake. Over breakfast, they discuss their plans for the day. At 7:35 a.m., Vicky leaves for work. At 7:50 a.m., Vicky arrives at work. At 8:30 a.m., Vicky calls home to check on Leigh due to weather. No one answers the phone. Vicky calls her own mother to ask her to check on Leigh, but decides to leave and check on her anyway. At 8:45 a.m., Vicky arrives home to find the garage door open and the light on. The front door is unlocked. Vicky searches the house for Leigh, discovers blood on the walls and floor, and a bloody nightgown and bra crumpled in the laundry basket in Leigh's room. At 9 a.m., only 15 minutes after this, Vicky calls the police to report her missing. And then, right after that, the police arrive. 2 officers arrive and call for backup. Lead detective Bart Aguirre? I don't know if that's correct or not. When he arrives, Vicky, her mother, her estranged husband, and a reporter were on the scene. So her current husband, but they had been split up for at least a month or so, I think, before that. And he wasn't living there anymore, but he happened to be there when the detective arrived on the scene. There were no signs of forced entry. There was type O blood in several places, enough to imply serious injury. And this was assumed to be Leigh's blood, but I guess at the time they didn't really have DNA. I don't know if they've checked it since then, but I mean, obviously, she's not there. They're going to assume that that's her blood. Duh. The blood had not yet coagulated, according to the police that were there.
Really?
Yes.
I hadn't heard that either. That means super fresh.
That was, yeah, that's what I would assume, but I'm not sure how accurate that is, and we'll go over that later. There was also traces of blood on the bathroom counter sink, where someone had attempted to clean up. But the thing is that was the master bathroom and not the other bathroom. And that, to me, is very suspicious, because it seems like somebody that knew the house right? Blood and strands of hair on the doorframe of Leigh's room, along with a fist-sized pool on the nearby carpet. Items were missing were her shoes, glasses, underclothes, and a sleeping bag. Police searched area with the canines in a half-mile radius, but weather interfered. The canines couldn't really catch a scent of anything because of the weather. And then, it was not long after that someone, I couldn't find the actual date on that, but somebody claimed they sighted her at the McDonald's in Boonville, Mississippi. And then that turned out to be somebody else. They did actually, look into that, and it was somebody else. Then September 9th, an envelope arrived at the home postmarked Boonville. Although I saw two versions of this. Some sources say September 9th and some say September 11th. I'm not sure which is accurate. But an envelope arrived at the home postmarked Boonville. Had her glasses addressed to Barney, which was the stepdad that was no longer living there at the time. No DNA or fingerprints were recovered. On November 11th, 1993, remains were found and ID'd in Monroe County, but were later retracted, and it was a completely different body of another missing lady. But they had mistakenly thought that it was Leigh in 1993, and I don't even remember hearing about that. I don't remember hearing about that either, but I did find info about that. It was somebody named Pollyanna that had been missing. On August 1997, police declared that they have a suspect, but they will not name the person. And that's pretty much the up-to-date. It's still considered an open case here, but
and the strange that in 97 they said that there's a suspect. They never name who it is, and then everything disappears.
And then they don't really talk about it.
On the news, they'll bring up the Leigh Occhi case around the anniversary of it, and that's it. And
that's all that gets said
about it.
Okay, the number one suspect that we're going to talk about, and we're going to be talking about this a lot, is the mother.
That's who I say did it. 100%. I believe she did it.
I believe that she at the very least knows something because, and here's why, shortly after she moved away. I don't have the exact date. Yeah.
6 months. It was within 6 months of her daughter missing. It wasn't even a year. She moves to Texas.
Yeah, she moved to Texas. I don't know if that's where she is now, but she moved away. And where do you hear of that in a case where you have a missing child that most people stay in the same place.
I would stay
keep
there
the same phone number forever because until they find that child or at least know what happened to that child. So that tells me right there that she at least knows that her daughter is dead.
And the other thing was, didn't she work for the FBI in some capacity? I'm not sure. I don't think she's an FBI agent, but I heard that she actually worked with the FBI.
I heard that too, but I did not see any mention of that. So if that is true,
she would definitely have the wherewithal and the intelligence, I guess so to speak, to know how to cover up a murder.
Yeah, but and also I guess the other reason why she's a suspect is because the timeline doesn't make sense. Let's go back to the timeline. She leaves for work at 7:35 and arrives at work at 7:50, 8:30. So literally less than an hour after she leaves for work, she calls home to check on Leigh. Now, granted, supposedly this was the first time that she had ever left Leigh home alone, which is very odd within itself. It's like the first time she leaves her home alone, and she just becomes up missing. But I find that odd because it's literally she only has been at work for 40 minutes according to her timeline, and then she calls home and panics because Leigh doesn't answer. I mean, I would automatically assume if it were my child that my kid just went back to sleep because it's, you know, she didn't have to go to school or anything. Yeah, I mean, she didn't have to go to school or anything, so I would just assume my kid went back to sleep.
You know, most kids, if it's summertime, they don't get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a teenager anyway. I mean,
I sure did, and I stayed asleep at when. Yeah, I slept at least till 9 during the summers when I was a kid. So I find that odd. And she said that she did say that, you know, Leigh was scared of the storm or whatever. But Leigh was skittish about that. But I just find that so odd.
If Leigh was already skittish and scared of the storm, why did she not go to Vicky's mother's house? Or a friend's house? Or another family member's house? There were other people in town. Why leave her there alone if she's scared? If my daughter is scared, I wouldn't leave her alone anyway, but if my daughter was scared, I would not be like, okay, well, sorry, I gotta go to work.
Yeah. And another thing is the short time period from the time she arrives home to the time she calls the police is 15 minutes, and she claims that she searched outside and inside and everything, like, really thoroughly. I just find that odd because even though, yes, you're going to be panicked about coming home to find blood and your kid not there, you're not going to automatically assume something super awful has happened. You're going to look for your kid. Probably even look in the same places twice before you call the cops. I just find it odd that it's only 15 minutes before she calls the cops.
I'm kind of opposite about that. I think the minute I noticed the garage door open and walked in and saw blood, the first thing I would do, if it was that much blood, that large amount that they said that there was, the first thing I would do is grab the phone and be on 911 as I'm looking for my child. I wouldn't have waited 15 minutes. I wouldn't have waited 5 minutes. I would have immediately called the police if I saw the garage door open, called out for my child, didn't get an answer, and immediately saw blood. I'm dialing 911.
But another thing that the only problem that I have with her as a suspect is I think she needed a second person. Because from that time period, I think she would have had to get somebody else there to get rid of the body while she's calling the cops. Because she didn't really have enough time to get rid of the body in that time frame.
This is my theory on this. I feel opposite again. I feel like she killed Leigh. I feel like Leigh was dead before she even went to work.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they got into a fight because it was known that Leigh used to go to school with bruises on her, and other people have said that were in class with her that she used to come to school with bruises, and she had told a few of them that her mother hit her. So there's abuse allegations there to begin with. I believe that she was fighting with her mother. It got out of hand. Her mother beat her to death and went and got rid of the body before she even went to work.
Yeah. Well, my theory is a little bit different. I mean, we don't completely disagree. We still think she had something to do with it either way.
Yeah.
But what I think...
how she did it, how she went about it and got rid of the body.
The only way the timeline makes sense to me is that the fight happened before she, you know, slammed her head into the wall or whatever that left the spot on the corner. And then she went to work after that happened and did not realize that she had fatally wounded her. And she gets to work and she tries to check, maybe feels guilty about it and tries to call her and doesn't get an answer. So then she freaks out and is like, uh-oh, I hope I didn't, hurt her worse than I thought. So she goes home to check on her and realizes that she's dead from the injury that she gave her before that. And I think that she calls somebody in, perhaps Barney, because he was there when the cops were there, which is odd to me. I think she got him while she was calling the cops, or perhaps right before she called the cops. She and Barney loaded up, or some other person, a second person besides the mother, loaded up the body, and he skedaddled out of there to go dump the body while she waited for the cops to get there. But I don't know. Like I said, this is just my theory. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. That's just my personal theory. I don't know. The second, we'll probably get back to the mother again eventually. But the second suspect is Barney Yarborough, the stepfather. But the cops have ruled him out completely.
I don't think he had anything to do with it. I really don't.
And we don't have any information about why the cops ruled him out. We don't know what.
I think he had an alibi, honestly. I think I remember hearing something about him having a solid alibi.
But oddly enough, when I was a child, like, that was the biggest rumor, was that he was sexually abusing her, and that I'd heard that she had gotten pregnant by him, and that him or the mother found out, and that's what caused all of this. But there's no proof of any of that. So
those things do happen. We've seen on the news all the time. That can happen, but I think him having a solid alibi, maybe not, of course, having any kind of sexual abuse with her or impregnating her, but an alibi for this time frame of her coming up missing, I think is why the police ruled him out. It was odd, though, that the glasses were
addressed to him. That's what I was going to bring up. They were addressed to him, but that could have been a misdirect. I mean, it could have been that part, whoever wrote that.
That is so much more of a mystery to this whole thing, is that her glasses are mailed from Boonville, which is about, 30 miles north of Tupelo?
Yeah, something like that, 20 to 30 miles. So, and that's also where that sighting was, which makes it even more intriguing. It's like, did some random person just take her? I don't know. And the third one, which is a really good suspect, but also there's just not enough to tie him to the scene. So it's Mike McKinley Kearns, who is he went to church with her at the Lutheran church, and I think he taught her Bible school, her Bible class, and he had been trying to get her to come ride horses. He knew that she was into horses, and he kept trying to lure her to go ride horses with him or whatever. He is in Parchman right now, the prison here in Mississippi, for he kidnapped a couple in 1999 and raped the wife in front of the husband. And he had previously abducted and raped a young girl that he went to church with. But this one was in Memphis, I believe. But he's from this area. They went to church together. So that ties him to her in general.
Associations, yeah.
Yes. He was due, I have not checked on this, but he was due for release in March of this year.
Really? See, I don't understand that. How people can get busted for a couple of ounces of marijuana and go to prison for the rest of their lives. And then there's child molesters and murderers that are out in less than 20 years.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It was only 9 months after Leigh disappeared that he kidnapped a 15-year-old from her residence in Memphis on the pretense of driving her to school. He took her to a remote spot in DeSoto County and sexually assaulted her, and then he drove her to school where she contacted police. And on that charge, he was released in 1997.
That's insane. That's crazy. What judges around here and parole officers and such, parole board, let these predators loose?
He refuses to speak with police about Leigh. They've tried to go down there several times. He's due to get out. Why would he talk about it and put himself back in?
If they had given him life without parole or the death penalty, and he was the one who had murdered Leigh, and they offered him a plea bargain, I guarantee you he would be singing like a bird.
Yeah. But I mean, there's the fact that he was a Bible school teacher at her church. He knew that she was into horses and used that to his advantage. And his description fits the new witness. I don't know if you listen to the Daily Journal did their own podcast on the Leigh Occhi case, and they have a new witness that saw a man with a young girl walking down the road that day, and it was close to her house. And the male fits the description of this guy. So, and this witness had called the police back then to let them know that she had seen this, and they never returned her call. So that witness slipped through the cracks all these years because nobody returned her call. I don't know if somebody just didn't take the note or lost the note of her calling, or I don't know.
So there was no way to solidify an alibi from him during that timeline, being that he never was an actual suspect, or was he a suspect with the police?
I don't know if he was a suspect early on, but after that incident in Memphis and in the other one,
you just can't have him looked at.
You can't. And the fact that he had ties with her and that he was trying to get her to go horseback riding, which is terrifying to think about, but I don't know if it's this guy or not. But in interviews,
sounds like a really strong suspect. It has me questioning my own theories now about the mother after hearing so much. I'd heard this guy's name and that he was a possible suspect, but I didn't know
all the details of his past stuff.
The details of this was.
Because it was another.
He had done this in Memphis and the other incident, but I didn't know that he actually had any ties or knew Leigh Occhi. So.
And that 15-year-old girl was also a girl that he went to church with, and this only happens 9 months after Leigh disappears.
And a lot of times, murderers, serial killers, predators, if they get away with it once, they will do it again.
Yeah. I don't. She's lucky to be alive if that's the case. The girl's a 15-year-old. He just drove her back to school. I don't know what he was thinking with that. That is stupid.
Yeah, that's odd.
On a lot of levels.
Thankfully, though, that he didn't kill her.
Maybe she was compliant to the point where he thought she wouldn't tell anybody. I don't know, and maybe Leigh fought. You never know what the circumstances are. But he is a strong suspect.
I still have to lean back towards the mother on this, though. Knowing about their past, their volatile relationship from the classmates at school, and her timeline not making any sense, and it being so convenient that they were just pouring concrete that morning at those apartments, from what I heard, I still feel like it was the mother.
Yeah.
And who moves away? Who moves away when your child is missing? That is the number one thing I keep coming back to in my mind as a mother, is when your child is missing, you don't leave the state. You don't leave the town forever until your child is found.
But she doesn't really do a whole lot of interviews and stuff now.
Yeah, I've heard she refuses interviews.
But when she has talked in recent years, she basically states that she thinks that Mike Kearns did it, that he killed her.
Well, that's deflecting.
Yeah, but she says,
she's going to say it's anybody, but I did it.
Yeah,
maybe we'll get a
but she has stated that she just wants to move on with her life. She knows that her child is dead, and that this guy killed.
Even if I had it in the back of my head that my child was dead, it's been 25 years, it's so long, I'm never going to see them again, I could not just move on.
Yeah.
With the slightest tinge of hope left, there is no way that I could just move on with my life like that.
And there's also the fact that I don't think I found a source on this, but I did hear that she had failed at least one, if not more. I think it was twice. I heard
she did. She failed a polygraph.
So
again, putting her number one to me on the suspect list.
I think I've also heard interviews with her dad, who
her
was
real father,
and he was living. I forget what state he was living in at the time.
Yeah,
he was not even in the state, but he came and stayed for like a month or so. He got leave from the military and stayed and helped search for her for at least a month or so after she disappeared. And he's made periodic visits back, I believe, and he won't outright say it was the mother, but if you read between the lines, like, he really was not happy with things. Like, I think he didn't even...
I think he had fought it with Tom for custody and lost, because, of course, in most custody cases, unless you can prove that the mother is completely unfit, custody goes to the mother. But
he's at least let it be known that he thinks she knows something. And also, it's suspicious the fact that she waited, I believe, days after the disappearance to even inform him of what was going on. And that's pretty messed up. No matter how bad your relationship, no matter how bad your relationship with your ex is, if your child goes missing, that person has a right to know.
And I mean, the stepfather's an ex too, and he was there before the cops even arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's just a whole messed up situation. Like I said, I'm not gonna name this one suspect as the one who did it, but I do believe the mother knows something more than...
She was involved in some form, somehow. Has to be. Absolutely not.
She absolutely knows something, or else she would not have moved away, and her timeline would have made more sense, and the blood in the bedroom is a real dead giveaway right there, because if you're breaking into a house and assaulting a child, are you gonna take time to find the master bathroom? I mean, like, really?
Not unless you came through that window, which we know did not happen.
It's just very strange.
Did they come through the garage?
Well, the garage door was open and the door was unlocked, so the chances are that Leigh knew the person and let them in. So that eliminates a lot of people, because if you wanted to just say it was some random person, that's not very likely. You know what I mean?
No, I don't see a 13-year-old letting a random stranger come to the house.
Especially if what her mom says is true about her being scared of the storm and all that stuff. It's all dark and stormy outside. You're not just gonna... I mean, even if you would normally answer the door for a stranger, you might be less likely to do so if it's already kind of scary outside. You know?
And I think this has to be someone who, of course, if it wasn't the mother herself, it has to be someone who knew that Leigh was going to be home alone at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to be watching the house or knew the mother.
I think if it was that one guy, the Mike Kearns or whatever, that he was probably already... He probably was stalking her, honestly.
I was thinking probably stalking her and watching the house and watching when the mother goes to
And the mother did say that one of the reasons that she thought that he was the person to do the whatever. Oh God, I said we're supposed to scream.
I got a drink.
It's a secret word. Gotta take a drink. I know I say a lot, but I try to edit at least some of it out. I can't help it. It happens. And then I did it again. Now I've completely lost my train of thought. Like, what the fuck? I'm trying to be all serious. This is not working for me. Anyway. Oh yeah, she said he came to the door. She said that he came to the door, like, I think within a few days after the disappearance. He came to their house, which I don't think he had ever even been there before. He showed up at the doorstep and had a picture of Leigh that he had taken at some point at church or whatever. And he handed her the picture that he had of Leigh and, expressed his condolences or whatever. But she just...
last name?
Kearns.
How do you spell it?
Kearns. So, I think that's odd that he showed up with a picture of her on the doorstep, never been to their house before. And this, if that's true, because she could be just making that crap up because, she wants to deflect away from herself, so.
I was just looking him up on the database, and he is no longer in March.
Yeah, I knew he was up for parole in March. So, I just didn't, and they said that, I read somewhere that he was planning to move back to the area. So look out, people. This guy's out.
That's scary.
Lock up your chillins. I think
hide your kids, hide your wife. They ripping everybody out here.
Yep. We're going to take a short break and then we'll probably wrap things up. Woo.
Our town isn't like other towns. People move here to raise their children far from the dangers of the big city and all the things that go bump in the night. And I can see why. From the outside, Tupelo seems like every town USA, a quiet little slice of heaven right here on Earth, where Saturday barbecues include the whole neighborhood and the bad things only happen to bad people. It's a living Rockwell, oozing with pastoral southern charm, but what if I told you that looks can be deceiving? Would you believe me? Or would you laugh it off? Call me crazy. And tuck your littles into their beds without a second thought. Well, maybe you should listen, at least for a moment, to the other side of the story. Because I can tell you one thing, your family is not safe here. You are not safe. Tupelo isn't a Rockwell. It's an Orwell, and I intend to expose the dark underbelly of this town if it's the last thing I do. And it just might be. I'm your hostess, Sarah Locke, and this is City Secrets.
And we're back. Alright, you had pulled up his address. He does live in the area, and he's a registered sex offender, so we can technically blast this out there.
Public knowledge. Oscar McKinley Kearns is at 74 Vick Street in Blue Springs. Last known address. It also says here that this may not be his current address. Now, this has not been updated in quite a few months.
So
I'm not saying that's where he is, but if this is correct, he has been released from prison, and he is supposedly still in the area somewhere.
Yep, so there you have it. Keep your kids close. And lock your doors. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Because this guy obviously likes raping people. And he loves little kids. Do you have any final words before we wrap this up?
I just think that people need to, in this day and age, I know that people leave their kids home alone. They have to. People have to work. A lot of people can't afford after-school programs, or they don't, they're 13, 14-year-olds going to daycare or things like that. But find a friend. Have them together. Don't have your child alone anywhere at any time if they're under the age of, I would not leave my daughter alone under the age of 15. I would say have a friend over, let them go over to the friend's house, have a parent around at all times, because people are coming out missing more and more in this day and age.
And the child trafficking is becoming a real problem in this area.
Trafficking is real, people. It is real, and it happens way more often than people realize that it does.
Oh no, everybody thinks it doesn't happen in my area, but then, we've seen those arrests lately, and I already knew that stuff was going on.
I was going to say,
I did an article about it.
County last week, there were some arrests made of people trying to kidnap kids. It happened.
I did an article for the Our Tupelo page, a blog about the trafficking statistics for Mississippi and stuff, and it is going up gradually, and people need to be made aware that stuff is happening. And I'd have to say, another thing that people don't realize is a lot of people mistakenly think that you need to be within a certain age range or something to be trafficked. No. Age, sex, any of that does not matter. They can find a place for you anywhere.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter if you think I'm too old, they would never, or I'm too ugly, or I'm too fat, or whatever, that they would never pick you up. No. They can find somebody that will pay to have sex with you. You know what I mean? Like, they will exploit you in any way. And it is not always even sexual. They can find another role for you and make you stick with it. Yeah, yes. They can
ship off to Argentina.
Yeah. This stuff happens all the time, and there's so many misconceptions that people have about it, but it is happening everywhere. And it does, and the specifics don't matter. It can happen to anyone, anywhere. So I always tell people, like, have your phone handy. Don't go places alone. If you're in a parking lot.
Hold on to your children. Do not take your eyes off of your kids in a public setting.
Mm-hmm.
Hold onto their hand. Have them hold onto your arm. Do not let them go.
And for something like the Leigh Occhi case, I've got to say, like, you know, everybody gives their kid like a stranger danger speech, but you need to also instill in them an understanding of other things that can happen to them from people they know. Because in all likelihood, whatever happened to Leigh happened from somebody she knew, whether it be her mother or, you know, whoever else, or this Kearns guy.
A lot of times it ends up being that's the case. It is someone that they know or they're familiar with.
And since she went to church with him, she probably trusted him. But I'm saying, I don't care who it is. Your child is home alone. They need to know. Like, don't open the door for anybody.
Set up a password.
Yeah.
That only you and your child know. So that if someone knocks on the door and they answer it, which my child has been told, do not answer the door. She's never home alone anyway, but even later on in years when she is home alone, I've already told her, just don't answer the door. But if your child opens the door, have them a password so that they can ask the person knocking for the password. If they don't know the password, they need to lock the door and call 911.
But have that conversation with your child, because even in a situation where they're not home alone, things can happen. You know, anybody close to, that can get close to your child in any way can harm them in many different ways, as you probably know. So have that conversation with your child about, you know, other people getting into their, what's appropriate and personal space. Like, if someone invades their personal space or makes them uncomfortable, you need to know about it.
Tell an adult. Absolutely tell an adult. If you have a daughter or even a son that is going to spend the night at someone else's house, you need to know who the adults are in that house. Whether it be the parents of the child or if they have someone else living with them or visiting that evening, you need to know the details. You need to know these people because you can't trust anybody anymore.
All right. I'm going to wrap this up by letting y'all know that I had a bunch of sources for this whole episode. So I'm going to just list those off so that I can give credit where credit is due. The information that I got for doing this research was from Charlie Project, Reddit, Daily Journal website, Zetaboards, Namus, and Facebook.com/helpfindmissing Leigh Occhi. So, if you want to check out more about this case, you can look those up or look up other things. And also, you know, credit the Daily Journal did their own podcast about Leigh Occhi. I forget the exact name of that, but you can go look that up pretty easily. And there's several other podcasts that have done episodes, and you can check those out too. You can just go look up her name. It's LeighMarine and OCCHI. That's how you spell her name. You can go look that up and find out more information wherever you want. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, April Simmons. Theme and editing is also by me. Special thanks to my co-host, Sahara, and also Josh Ballard of Our Tupelo, who is our web host. I also want to give a quick shout out this week to Mysterious Circumstance Podcast and Justin Rimmel, because he gave me some advice when I was first thinking about starting a podcast, and it was really helpful to me. So thank you, and you should all go check out his awesome podcast. If you want to check out our discussion group, it's facebook.com/group/allcatsaregray, and that's gray with an E. My email is mangledfairy@gmail.com. All the web credits are in the notes, and I also said them aloud at the end of the episode. Thanks for listening and also putting up with our learning process. We're still getting the hang of things, and we've got a new mic, so hopefully it'll